Look closely at these images. A child whose eyes no longer shine with innocence but with hunger. A mother holding a frail infant whose body is nothing more than bones and skin. Young boys and girls queuing with empty bowels, not knowing whether they will even get a morsel today. These are not just photographs from a century ago, not from a history book on famine. These are the faces of Gaza today. And the question that pierces every conscience is humanity dead? So welcome, you're watching Next IAS English. Today we discuss a heartbreaking reality. Famine has officially been declared in Gaza. This is not just a humanitarian crisis. It is a test of our collective humanity, a test that so far the world is failing. After months of warnings, the inevitable has happened. The United Nations has declared famine in parts of Gaza. But the question the world must ask is, why did it take so long? Reports from humanitarian agencies had for months described families boiling grass to feed their children. Aid convoys were blocked, food supplies were destroyed, and yet global recognition of famine came only after countless lives had already been lost. The World Food Programme stated clearly, starvation in Gaza is not looming. It is already happening. And the images confirm what the reports say. Thousands struggling daily, scrambling with empty pots for food. Look at these images. Now let us take a look at the data. According to the United Nations Integrated Food Security Phase Classification System, famine is defined when at least 20% of households face extreme lack of food, acute malnutrition exceeds 30%, and death rates surpass 2 per 10,000 people per day. In Gaza today, the numbers are devastating. 5,14,000 people, nearly a quarter of Gaza's entire population, are already experiencing famine conditions. And that is not just food insecurity, let me tell you. It is famine. The kind where children cry themselves to sleep with no food for days. And it does not end there. The UN predicts that by the end of September 2025, this figure may rise to 6,41,000 people. Imagine, in just weeks, nearly every second household in Gaza could face starvation. This is not a slow burn crisis anymore. It is an emergency of the highest scale. Now, let us take a look at these pictures. Famine is never about just hunger. It is also about politics, and Gaza is a stark reminder of that. Israel has strongly rejected the UN declaration. Officials have called the famine report lies and a modern blood libel. The United States too has raised doubts, suggesting that the famine narrative could be a deliberate attempt to build international sympathy against Israel. On the other side, Hamas, which controls Gaza, continues its armed conflicts with Israel, using civilians as human shield and aggravating the humanitarian crisis. So we stand at a crossroad where truth itself is contested. Is famine a manufactured narrative, or is famine a reality on the ground? For the children dying of hunger, the debate does not matter, because hunger is real, starvation is real. Let's look at the historical context of this whole issue. To understand the crisis, we must also look at the roots. Hamas, considered a terrorist organization by Israel, the US and the EU, has been at the center of the conflict for decades. Its attacks on Israel invite severe retaliations, and those retaliations cripple the very civilians Hamas claims to protect. Israel insists its blockade is necessary to prevent weapons from entering Gaza. But in the process, even food, fuel, and medicine struggle to cross the borders. The result, civilians are trapped between the iron grip of Hamas and the iron wall of Israel. Caught between the politics and war, the people of Gaza, especially children, pay the heaviest price. Now let's talk about the international response to all this. What is exactly the way forward? The United Nations has called for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire, for unrestricted aid access, and for coordinated action by Arab nations to push for peace. A unified Arab position, it believes, can help guide negotiations and create at least some breathing space for civilians. But the truth is, aid alone will not solve this crisis. What is needed is political will. Without addressing the blockade, without genuine dialogue, famine will remain a recurring headline. Let's look at the human angle, the emotional layer. Let us move away from the numbers for a moment, because sometimes statistics do not capture the full pain of a crisis. A 6-year-old boy in northern Gaza weighs less than he did at the age of 2. His growth stunned. His body is too weak to fight diseases. A mother was forced to choose which of her 2 children would eat at the last piece of bread. She chose the younger one because she believed the elder might endure hunger longer. These are not isolated tragedies. These are everyday choices that no parent, no child, no human being should ever be forced to make. Famine is not just hunger, it is the theft of childhood, the collapse of dignity, and the silence of a world that watches from a distance. Now, what can we do in all this? What can be done at an individual level? First, we can support verified humanitarian organizations, the ones actually delivering aid on the ground despite immense risk. Second, we can amplify awareness. Often, crises fade from the headlines, which are replaced by newer stories every day. But by continuing to speak, write, and share, we ensure that Gaza is not forgotten. Number 3, we must hold our leaders accountable. As citizens, we must demand that governments prioritize humanitarian concerns, not just geopolitics, when shaping foreign policy. No action is too small when lives are at stake, because silence too is a choice, my friend, and it is the wrong choice. In conclusion, the famine in Gaza is not just a humanitarian disaster. It is a moral crisis for the world, a crisis that forces us to ask, do we value politics more than people, power more than peace? History will not remember the justifications. It will not remember the debates in diplomatic halls. It will remember the images of children holding empty plates, of mothers cradling starving infants, of families walking among rubble, searching not for shelter but for food. And see, in the last slide, there's a picture of the feet of a very small child wearing broken Crocs, hardly able to keep them on. This is Gaza's reality today, and this should not be their destiny. These children do not deserve broken shoes. They deserve proper shoes, school shoes, running shoes, shoes that carry them to playgrounds and classrooms, not refugee camps and rubble. Every child, whether in Gaza, Israel, India, or anywhere in the world, deserves the same basic dignity: food, safety, and a future. The children of Gaza deserve better, and so does humanity. If this video moved you even a little, please share it as much as possible. Let's raise our voices and create an impact. That's it for today. Thank you for watching Next IAS English.